am Dr. M. Velavan, Faculty, School of Management, Shastra University. To the continuation of the previous session, now we are going to discuss about the marine insurance. Learning objectives. After completion of this topic, you should be able to explain the intricacies in the contract of marine insurance, describe the important provisions governing marine insurance business, explain the coverage and exclusions in the various type of marine insurance policies. The last one is evaluate the claims processing and loss amount of different types of losses. Now, the introduction about the marine insurance. Marine insurance was, we know it today, originated in England owing to the frequent sailing of ships over high seas for trade. Marine insurance is an important element of general insurance. It essentially provides cover from loss suffered due to marine perils. The marine insurance extends beyond marine perils to provide cover for loss incurred during shipment of cargo over water bodies like rivers, lakes and inland waterways. It also covers ships under construction, docked for repairs, standard at the ports, and ships transporting consignment. The contract of marine insurance is a special contract of indemnity which protects against physical and other losses to movable property and associated interest, as well as against liabilities occurring or arising during the course of sea voyage. According to Section 1 of the Marine Insurance Act 1906, a contract of marine insurance is a contract whereby the insurer undertakes to indemnify the assured in the manner and to the extent thereby agreed against marine losses, that is to say, the losses incidental to marine adventure. It is a contract of indemnity. Already I told you it is a contract of indemnity. While in fire insurance, the indemnity is limited to actual loss, in marine insurance, it is ordinarily passed on value agreed upon in advance. Maritime insurance business today is covered by the provisions of the English Marine or Maritime Insurance Act 1906, and in India the business is regulated by the Indian Marine Insurance Act 1963, which is based on the original English Act. Okay. Marine insurance covers three main interests in a marine venture. The marine insurance covers three main interests in a marine venture. They are: number one, hull, it represents the ship. Then number two, cargo, the goods being transported by the vessel. Number three, freight is the profit or earnings of the ship at the end of a marine venture. So these are all the main three interests in a marine venture. Okay. So the marine insurance covers the following three main interests. Okay. One is hull, another one is cargo, the last one is freight. Marine insurance policy covers not only sea voyage but also purely inland transit through any mode like rail, road, then a multimodal, or even by post. Okay. The marine contract is also like any other contract. It has certain general characteristics which will help in a better understanding of different aspects of a marine insurance contract. Now, we will discuss about the marine insurance business governing legislations, okay, the rules and regulations of the marine insurance. Number one, Indian Carriage of Goods by Sea Act 1925, COGSA 1925. And also this act may be called the Indian Carriage of Goods by Sea Act 1925. It extends to the whole of India. Subject to the provisions of this act, the rules set out in the schedule shall have effect in relation to and in connection with the carriage of goods by sea in ships carrying goods from any port in India to any other port, whether in or outside India. The salient features of the act are as follows. So these are all the features of the Marine Insurance Act. Number one, the shipment responsibility and liabilities. The ship owner's responsibilities and liabilities. The following are the responsibilities and liabilities of the ship owners. To exercise due diligence and care to make the ship seaworthy, properly mannered, equipped and fit to carry the cargo. So, to exercise due diligence and care to make the ship seaworthy, properly mannered, equipped and fit to carry the cargo. Number two, properly and carefully load, handle, stow, carry, keep, care for and discharge the goods carried, subject to the various immunities provided. Then third one is, on demand and after receipt of the goods, to issue a bill of lading showing. These are the content of the bill of lading. Number one, leading marks necessary for the identification of the cargo. Number two, number of packages, pieces, quantity or weight as furnished in writing by the shipper. Third one, the apparent order and conditions of the goods, provided there is no obligation to show such details if the carrier suspects the accuracy or he has no reasonable means of checking. Okay. Then D, such a bill of lading shall be prima facie evidence of receipt by the carrier of the goods therein described. The last one is, the shipper shall be demanded to have guaranteed to the carrier the accuracy of marks, numbers, quantity and weight of the goods as furnished by him. Otherwise, the shipper shall indemnify the carrier against all loss, damage and expenses arising from inoccurrences in such particulars. The second responsibilities are the ship owner's rights and immunities. Okay. The first we discussed about the ship owner's responsibilities and liabilities. Now we are going to discuss about the ship owner's rights and immunities. Number one, or A. The carrier shall be relieved from liability for loss or damage arising or resulting from unseaworthiness unless caused by want of due diligence on the part of the carrier to make the ship seaworthy, to secure that the ship is properly mannered, equipped and supplied, and to make the ship fit to carry cargo. Thus, when loss or damage has resulted from unseaworthiness, the burden of proving the exercise of due diligence shall be on the carrier or other person claiming exemption from liability. B, this is the first point. The second point is, neither the carrier nor the ship shall be responsible for loss or damage arising or resulting from the following. Neither the carrier nor the ship shall be responsible for loss or damage arising or resulting from, number 1, negligent navigation or management of the ship. Number 2, fire, unless caused by the actual fault or privity of carrier. Third one, perils, dangerous and accidents. Perils, dangers and accidents of the sea or other navigable waters. Fourth one, act of God, act of war, act of public enemies. Fifth one, arrest or restraint of princes, rulers or people or seizure under legal process. Then quarantine restrictions. Then seventh one, act or omission of the shipper or his agent or representative. Eighth one, strikes, lockouts, stoppage or restraint of labor, riots and civil commotions. Then the ninth one, saving or attempting to save life or property at sea. 10th one, inherent defect or voice of the goods, insufficiency of packing. Then 11th one, insufficiency or inadequacy of marks. 12th one, latent defects not discoverable by due diligence. Then 13th one, any other causes arising without the actual fault or privity of the carrier, or without the fault or neglect of the agent or servant of the carrier, but the burden of proof shall be on the person claiming the benefit of this exception. So these are all the responsible for loss or damage arising or resulting from the marine insurance. Okay. Number 1, negligent navigation or management of the ship. Number 2, fire unless caused by the actual fault or privity of carrier. Perils, dangerous and accidents of the sea or other navigable waters. The 4th one, act of God, act of war, act of public enemies. 5th one, arrest of restraint of princes, rulers or people or seizure under legal process. Then quarantine restrictions like COVID quarantine or COVID lockout or shutdown, etc. Act or omission of the shipment or his agent or representative. Strikes, lockouts, stoppages or restraint of labor, riots and civil commotions. Saving or attempting to save life or property at sea. Inherent defect or voice of the goods, insufficiency of packing, insufficiency or inadequacy of marks, latent defects not discoverable by due diligence. The last one is any other cause arising without the actual fault or privity of the carrier, or without the fault or neglect of the agent or servant of the carrier. But the burden of proof shall be on the person claiming the benefit of this exception. Then C, the carrier shall not be liable for any loss or damage resulting from any deviation in saving or attempting to save life or property at sea or any reasonable deviation. The D, the carrier shall not be liable for loss or damage to the goods if the nature or value thereof has been knowingly misstated by the shipper in the bill of lading. Then C, the separate point, the dangerous cargo. Goods of inflammable, explosive or dangerous nature, to the shipment whereof the carrier or master has not consented with knowledge of their nature and character, may at any time be landed at any place or destroyed or rendered innocuous by the carrier without compensation, and the shipper shall be liable for all damages and expenses arising out of or resulting from such shipment. If any such goods are shipped with the knowledge and consent of the carrier, and they become a danger to the ship or cargo, they may in like manner be landed at any place or destroyed or rendered innocuous by the carrier without liability on the part of the carrier except to general average, if any. If any such goods are shipped with knowledge and consent of the carrier, and they become a danger to the ship or cargo, they may in like manner be landed at any place or destroyed or rendered innocuous by the carrier without liability on the part of the carrier except to general average, if any. Then D, the next point is limitation of monetary liability of the carrier. Liability of the carrier of loss or damage to cargo is limited to 666.67 SDR, special drawing rights, per package or unit of freight, or 2 SDR per kg, special drawing rights per kg of gross weight of the goods lost or damaged, whichever the amount is higher. So here you have to understand the liability of the carrier for loss or damage to cargo is limited to 666.67 SDR. I think SDR stands for special drawing rights per package or unit of freight, or 2 SDR per kg of gross weight of the goods lost or damaged, whichever the amount is higher, unless the nature and the value of such goods are declared by the shipper and inserted in B/L, balance or liability. Okay. Before amended of this act in October 1992, the monetary limits of liability of the carrier was €100 per package or unit of freight. Where a container, pallet or similar article of transport is used to consolidate the goods, the number of packages or units enumerated in the P and L as packed in such article of transport shall be deemed to be the number of packages or units for the purpose of for the purpose of this paragraph, as far as this package or unit or concern. In that case, the limit of liability will apply to each package or unit constrained in the pallet or container. If the P&L does not show how many separate packages are there, then each article of transport, pallet or container, will be deemed to be an entire package or unit of freight for the purpose of applying the limit of liability. Here you have to understand carefully the notice of loss or damage. Unless notice of loss or damage be given in writing to the carrier at the port of discharge or at the time of removal of the goods into the custody of the person entitled to delivery thereof under the contract of carriage, or if loss or damage be not apparent within 3 days, such removal shall be prima facie evidence of delivery by the carrier of the goods as described in the BRL. Such notice in which need not be given if the state of the goods at the time of their receipt was the subject of joint survey or inspection. Here B&L is nothing but bill of lading. Okay, bill of lading. The next one is time limit for legal action. Time limit for legal action. The ocean carries in discharged from all liability in respect of loss or damage, unless suit is brought within 1 year after delivery of the goods or the date when the goods should have been delivered. This period may, however, be extended if the parties so agree after the cause of action has arisen, provided that a suit may be brought after the expiry of the period of 1 year referred to above, within the further period of not more than 3 months as allowed by the courts. This is the time limit for legal action. Then as per GACSA, Act 1925, applies to goods are defined as including goods, wares, then merchandise, containers, pallets or similar articles of transport used to consolidate goods if supplied by the shipper, and articles of every kind whatsoever, except live animals and cargo which by the contract of carriage is stated as being carried on desk and is so carried. This is the definition of goods as per CASCA Act, CASCA 1925. Okay. The SDR, the special drawing rights, is a currency basket made up of 5 currencies as follows. So these are the following currencies: US dollar, weightage 42%, German diem, weightage 19%, pound sterling 13%, French franc 13%, Japanese yen 13%. So US dollar 42%, German diem 19%, pound sterling 13%, French franc 13%, Japanese yen 13%. So these are all the SDR, special drawing limits, rights as a currency basket made up of 5 currencies as follows. It is a relatively stable unit since a fall in the value of one currency as usually means a rise in value of the others. Its actual value is recalculated daily by the International Monetary Fund (IMF), which promulgates the SDR (special drawing rights) as a currency unit. The convention holds that the conversion to national currencies for compensation payable as a result of judicial proceedings shall be at the rate announced for the day of judgment. Value of an SDR is published daily in important financial dailies and in the Lloyd's list in terms of Euro standard and US dollars. Currently, one SDR that equivalent to 0.94005 euro or 1.46629 US dollar. Now, we are going to discuss about the Marine Insurance Act 1963. As we already know that London was the center of all operations regarding marine insurance transactions, and hence all customers and branches of the trade developed here. So as we already know that the London was the center of all operations regarding marine insurance transactions, and hence all customers, customs and branches of the trade developed here. Further, a bench of jurors was also appointed by Lord Mansfield to settle the disputes arises as a result of breach of contract or misinterpretations or due to false claim. For years, all countries across the world followed the British Act, but necessary changes had to be made by the respective countries to suit their requirements. After independence, the Indian Navy and shipping began growing rapidly, yet there was no Indian law governing marine insurance, which was still subject to the English Marine Insurance Act. Furthermore, the insurance contract in India had to abide by the Indian Contract Act 1872, and there was often a conflict between the Indian Contract Act provisions and those of the English Marine Insurance Act 1906. It therefore becomes essential to draft a legislation to suit the Indian scenario. As a result of this, the Marine Insurance Act was enacted by the Indian Parliament, which came into force from August 1st, 1963. The Marine Insurance Act 1963 defines marine insurance was a contract between insurer and the insured. The insurer, as per the agreement, undertakes to indemnify the assured against the marine losses incidental to marine adventure. The next topic is maritime perils. Maritime perils can be defined as the fortuitous. It represents an element of change or ill luck, accidents or casualties of the sea caused without the willful intervention of human agency. There are different forms of perils at sea, of which only a few are covered by insurance, while others are not. There are different forms of perils at sea, of which only a few are covered by insurance while others are not. In this part, we will be enumerating both the insured and uninsured perils of the sea. Number 1 under maritime peril is insured marine perils. Insured marine perils. Generally, the perils that can be insured under any marine insurance policy are as follows. Number 1, fire is a common peril at sea. Next one is pirates at thieves, according to Carver. Privacy is forcible robbery at sea, whether committed by marauders from outside the ship or by mariner or passengers within it. Third one is barratry. It is an act willful committed by the master and the crew against the owner or character of the ship. Barratry includes fraudulent sales of cargo or deviation of ship, crew's refusal to discharge the cargo, etc. The fourth one is jettisonry. This is throwing of cargo overboard due to either a deliberate act or at the wake of grave danger. The fifth one is taking at sea. It is a situation when the vessel is captured by the enemy or others. Sixth one is foundering at sea. If a ship has been reported lost and after a stipulated time there is no news of its whereabouts, then it is presumed to be lost due to perils of the sea. Stranding. Seventh one is stranding. Arises when the ship deviates from its course due to an accident and is standing in shallow waters and suffers damages. The eighth one is collision. Is caused when the ship collides with another ship or with other objects, causing damage. Ninth one is all other perils. Includes all perils similar in nature to the ones mentioned in the policy. Next one is perils not explicitly dealt with. There are two other losses the insurer is bound to provide cover for. They are, the other losses are insurer's liability in respect of general average loss, section 66. General average loss is expenditure or loss incurred concisely while countering a peril for saving the ship and or consignment. This is borne proportionately by all having insurable interest in the marine adventure. The next one is insurer's liability in respect of salvage charges. Insurance liability in respect of salvage charges. These are charges awarded to a salvager for retrieving property from the sea. This is not part of a marine contract. This amount is contributed by all holding insurable interest in the marine adventure. The insurer is liable to cover the salvage charges incurred by the assured. This is treated as a part of general average loss. This is treated as a part of central average loss. The next peril is uninsured perils. All losses and damages caused due to reasons not considered as peril of the sea are not provided insurance cover. Number 1, wear and tear. This is the regular deterioration that inflicts the vessel due to the corrosive action of the sea, action of winds, and other maintenance problems caused to the body of the ship due to sailing. This includes a perishable commodity that is transported. It includes the perishable commodity that is transported. The next uninsured peril is leakage. If a leakage develops in a vessel, then insurance does not provide cover for the loss caused unless the leak is caused by an accident. Ordinarily, leakage of liquid cargo is also not covered. The next uninsured peril is breakage of goods. Goods damage due to movement of the ship are not covered by insurance, but goods damaged by the violent action of the waves are covered, as this is treated as a peril at sea. So breakage of goods is the goods damaged due to movement of the ship are not covered by insurance, but goods damaged by the violent action of the waves are covered, as this is treated as a peril at sea. The next uninsured perils is inherent vice. Inherent vice. This refers to the inherent properties of the cargo being transported. Thus, the insurer cannot be made liable for perishable commodity, which has an inherent process of decomposition. This would apply to fruits, vegetables, meat, etc. The next uninsured perils is loss by rats and vermin. This loss is not considered as a peril of the sea. Example, Hamilton versus Pandroof. A rat gnawed a hole in a pipe, causing damage to the cargo of rice by seawater. There was no negligence. The insurer was not held responsible. Then the next uninsured perils, loss by delay. This means that the insurer of the vessel and the cargo cannot claim for loss caused due to delay, even if the delay is caused by a peril of the sea, which is covered by insurance. Normally, coverage till completion of transit or reaching a destination are not defined in terms of date, days, except in case of annual declaration policies. So usually these are all the areas the insurance is not covered under the marine insurance policies. The next important topic is types of marine losses. Types of marine losses. There are different kinds of loss incurred during a marine adventure or enlisted in the Marine Insurance Act 1963 in sections 55 to 63. According to section 55, subsection 1 of the Act, the insurer is liable for any loss caused only due to perils of the sea, which has an insurance cover. According to subsection 2, the insurer is not liable for any loss incurred due to malpractice by the assured, but the insurer is liable if the loss is proximately caused by a peril of the sea, even if it would have been avoided by competent crew and the master. The subsection also exclude delay, wear and tear, leakage, etc. from the insurance cover, unless the policy otherwise provides for it. The losses are primarily divided into three categories under marine insurance loss. The losses are primarily divided into three categories. They are total loss, partial loss, expenses, and general average contribution. So these are all the category of losses: total loss, partial loss, expenses, general average contribution. So what is total loss? Total loss is a situation when the loss is completely irrecoverable and irretrievable. Total loss is a situation when the loss is completely irrecoverable and irretrievable. Total loss is further divided into actual total loss, section 57, subsection 1. This situation arises when the insured object is irretrievably lost. That is, it is completely damaged and does not resemble the object that had been insured prior to the marine adventure. Okay. The second classification of the total loss is mission ship, section 58. Actual total loss can be presumed if the ship under question is missing beyond the stipulated time. The third one is constructive total loss, section 60. Constructive total loss, section 60. Constructive total loss says that there is a constructive total loss when the insured object has to be abandoned, as actual total loss is inevitable. That is, the object is damaged beyond repair, and repair would cost many-fold when compared to the cost of the object. Section 60, subsection 2 state that there is a constructive total loss when the insured is deprived of the object and when he is unlikely to recover the object, and when the cost of recovery of the object would exceed the value of the recovered object. So these are all the three important subdivision of total losses. The next loss is partial loss. Partial loss. When the loss is not constructive or actual, then it is termed as a partial loss. When the loss is not constructive or actual, then it is termed as partial loss. Partial loss is classified into two categories. Number one, general average. Number one, general average, section 66. So as per section 66, this refers to the loss incurred by the sacrifice made during extreme circumstances for the safety of the vessel and the cargo. This loss has to be borne by all the parties who have an interest in the marine adventure. Generally, average compensation and liability are completely independent of marine insurance. Generally, average is defined as a loss caused by or directly consequential on a general average act, which includes a general average expenditure as well as a general average sacrifices. The general average loss will be there where the loss is caused by an extraordinary sacrifice or expenditure voluntarily and reasonably made or incurred in times of peril for the purpose of preserving the property imperiled in common adventure. Conditions that qualify for general average contribution are as follows. The average, number one, the average act must be voluntarily and intentional accidental loss or damage is excluded. The conditions that qualify of general average contribution are as, number one, the general average act must be voluntarily and intentional accidental loss or damage is excluded. The next one is loss must be incurred for common safety. Loss must be incurred for common safety. The next one is loss must be at the face of impending danger. Loss must be at the face of impending danger. The next one is the intention behind the loss should be general safety. The next one is expenditure caused as a result should be extraordinarily. The expenses at the face of danger should have been judiciously incurred. The imperiled subject matter should be saved. The person responsible for the danger cannot claim a share in the contribution. Loss must be the direct result of a general average act. Indirect losses such as demurrage and market losses are not allowed as general average. The last one is, if the sacrifice proves abortive, it will be allowed as total loss. Therefore, to call it general average sacrifice, it must be successful latest in part. Example, the master of a ship saw smoke coming from the hold of the ship and presumed that the hold had caught fire. He ordered high pressure stream to be let into the hold to extinguish the fire. This damaged the cargo of resins being transported by the ship. The insurance claim was put through on the grounds of general average loss. The court rejected the claim. This is because the court held that the loss was not due to general average loss and the peril was not real but imagined. So, the peril should be a real one, not the imaginary one. The general average losses are further divided into two classes. Number 1, general average sacrifices. Number 2, general average expenditure. In general average sacrifices, the general average are made for common safety. So, general average sacrifices are made for common safety. For example, jettison, which means throwing away of the cargo in order to lighten the ship. The jettison, which means throwing away from the cargo in order to lighten the ship. Similarly, the use of cargo as fuel or cutting away of a spar and sails. Similarly, the use of cargo as fuel or cutting away of a spar and sails. The second general average losses is general average expenditure. The general average act involves expenditure. In this case, extra expenditure are involved for common safety. Here, additional charges are incurred at the port when the ship is repaired. Expenses are involved for lightening and reloading of the cargo. The next topic is the general average contribution. General average contribution. The general average loss is ratably contributed by the parties interested. In contribution of general average loss, the contributory interest amount to be made good and contributory values are considered. Contributing interest. The interest saved by this general average act are liable to contribute ratably to make good the sacrifices or expenses. There are certain articles which are not required to contribute towards the general average loss. For example, postal articles, parcel, cruise, effects and personal effects of passengers not shipped under bill of lading. There are three main contributing interests: ship, freight and cargo. These are all the three main contributory interests. When a general average loss occurs among different interests, it is of vital importance that the interest which has been sacrificed must also ratably contribute to the loss. Otherwise, it would be in a better position than the interest saved by the general average act. The next one is amount to be made good. The amount to be made good in the general average act differs from adventure to adventure. Number 1, ship. Because the adventures are in different types: ship, cargo, freight, expenses. So it is differ from adventure to adventure. Number 1, ship. The amount to be made good in a general average in respect of ship is measured by reasonable cost of repairs less the actual deductions, if any. The amount to be made good in a general average in respect of ship is measured by reasonable cost of repairs less the actual deductions, if any. The cost of repairs are taken into account as they have been actually effected either at a part of refuge or at a destination. This is for ship adventure. The next one is cargo. Cargo. The The amount of general average in case of goods in their net value. The net value in turn is calculated taking into account the value of goods sacrificed at their safe arrival, and from this the expenses, that is freight, unpaid duty and landing charges, which would have been incurred had the goods arrived safely, or reduced or deducted. Thus the net value of the goods is arrived at. The remaining cargo arrives damaged from causes which would have actually affected the sacrificed goods. The amount to be made good for general average purposes is that the net value based on what the goods sacrificed would have realized. Had they reached the destination damaged to some extent, as the other cargo, for goods arriving damaged owing to general average sacrifice, the allowance is the difference between the net value in sound condition and net value in damaged condition or damaged state. The next, freight. Where the freight has to be paid at the destination in respect of a cargo which is used for General Average Act, the ship owner will lose it it would be made good in General Average. The ship owner is entitled for the goods gross freight which he would have earned had the goods not been sacrificed, less the charges which he would have incurred to earn such freight during the remainder of the voyage, but which he has not incurred as a result of the sacrifice. The next adventure, at most last adventure, is expenses. All the extraordinary expenses properly incurred by the ship owner, in time of peril for the common safety of all the interest, are also made under the general average contribution. Then C, contributory values. The third process is to determine what are the bases to contribute the central average. The interest contributes on their net value at the place where the voyage ends, that is a destination, or at an intermediate port of the voyage is abandoned there. The value are known as contributory values. It may be of three types. One is ship, cargo, then freight. First, ship. The ship owner will contribute on the ship's value as saved by sacrifice. The value is the amount for which the ship owner, as a reasonable man, would be willing to sell her on arrival at her destination. Any amount that may have been contributed in respect of general average damages is added to this value to arrive at contributory value. The next one is cargo. The cargo owner will contribute on the market value of the goods saved at the place where the voyage ends. To arrive at the value, the expenses incidental to the safe arrival of the cargo is deducted from the selling price of the cargo. The last one is freight. If freight has been paid in advance, it would have been included in the value of separate interest. the goods arrived safely at the destination with have to contribute on the basis of the net value of freight saved. If the freight was not paid in advance, the contribution of the freight will be arrived at by ascertaining the actual sum of freight received at port of destination less the expenses of earning it from the date of General Average Act. So I'll stop my lecture now. So we will continue the next session. So thank you very much for your listening. Thank you.